chair of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMary at the line.
Well, here we are as qualifying is getting started. Randy Chenowth, Justin Prince, and Johnny Simone bringing you all the action on Dirt Night this week. Myself and Justin will be bringing you the USAC stuff. Johnny will be joining us for Global Rallycross in about 45 minutes. Justin, it's a star-studded cast here for Dirt Night on the Midget side of things. Qualifying currently on track right now.
There's a lot of competitive drivers for sure. You have Austin Settlement in the mix, Ray Farlow in the mix, Brian Antonio as well, Justin Woolwood. A lot of notable names for various parts of iRacing and for Racespot TV's coverage of various dirt races. So very competitive field for these midgets. And Norway putting in some very quick times, all at around the 16th lap to 16.2s for the top half of the field.
Yeah, currently pole position held by Ben McSweeney. That's a 16.050. Still have a couple of cars that we need to see do some qualifying laps. Both of those are Australian All-Stars. One of them is Lewis Hewitt, who you see taking an interesting line in 3 and 4. Next, though, is going to be Cam Dance, who's going out for his qualifying laps right now. We're going to roll a couple of laps on board with him here in this TTL machine as he comes off corner number 4 in the dirt track at Charlotte here, Justin. It's a new circuit, and it's a big track for these little midgets at 4/10 of a mile. It's a very big racetrack for these cars indeed.
Definitely a big track. You may rarely see them up at the cushion, but a lot of these drivers tonight, with the speeds they carry with these midgets, as you're seeing with this qualifying time, the fastest route with these midgets is going around that middle line to the bottom rather than along the cushion with the faster speeds. So we should expect a lot of competitive racing, maybe some drivers trying to mix it up, but for Cameron Dance, finishing off his second time, still only in the middle of the pack for the time being.
And with that, we're going to be able to bring you your starting grid for heat race number 1. So let's cue the music and let's get that rolling. It's going to be Lewis Hewitt, who's on the front row in this first heat, with Chad Robinson starting on his outside. BJ Antonio in 3rd with Chase Rodman in the 4th spot. James Edens and Ray Farlow on row 3 with Josh Jewell making up that final spot in heat race number 1. Top 6 advance. 7th will likely have to go to the last chance qualifier. Don't know if we'll actually technically have one, so we might have a situation where everyone actually transfers their way through. But regardless, field is currently getting themselves set right here, right now for their 8-lap heat race.
Yeah, and you should still see some drivers trying to be really competitive to get the best starting spots possible. So with this being just 8 laps for this heat, expect some pretty aggressive driving and trying to set a pace early on in the first couple laps to try and make some moves to be able to get up to the front.
So field is going to roll, and Lewis Hewitt is going to have a nice, comfortable gap between himself and that iRacing safety truck. And he's going to close in on it after he finally gets rolling. Him and Chad Robinson will be making up the outside of this front row. We saw fantastic racing last week in the USAC 360 sprint cars, and a lot of those names are here running tonight. So I think we're going to be in for a good show.
Definitely in for a good show indeed. Should see a lot of these good drivers. It's very notable names as brought up. Really trying to stand out early on, of course, here on iRacingLive for Dirt Night. So maybe a few drivers, especially one starting in the mid to back for these heats set specifically in the early going of tonight's program, will try and maybe make themselves stand out. But we're going to find out in just a few moments, because that pace truck is coming out of 2 and about to pull down the backstretch.
So we're going to be expecting to see iRacing safety truck. It ducks away early here at Charlotte, which means that Lewis Hewitt is given a lot of time to potentially control this field. Into 3 and 4 he's going to go, and he's still waiting. It'll likely happen off corner number 3 and 4. Green flag's going to fly. Saw a couple of people getting antsy in the back, and he has a big margin here going into turns number 1 and 2 for the first time. And the fight is on for second. The 4 machine of Chad Robinson trying to hold off Brian Antonio as they work themselves into 3 and 4 for the first time. A little bit of over rotation for Chad, and that's going to give Brian the spot, and it's going to bring in the 10 of Chase Rodman as well. Number 4 car drops 2 spots in your opening lap.
And that just shows when you make one little mistake how many positions you can lose, especially at the start like that. And now the top 3 are all single file. But look at Chad Robinson able to recover. He's on his way approaching where he could battle for the 3rd spot heading into turn 1 and 2.
That 4 car 1 spots back. He gets a little bit of a wheelie there through the center of the corner. He's going to go way up to him, and now going to be fighting with a 2 and the 8. And he's actually going to clip that wall. So the 4 machine of Chad Robinson, despite his quick pace in qualifying, he goes down from starting on the outside of that front row. Now he's, I believe, the last running car on the racetrack. He's going to have to fight with the 12 of Joshua Jewell, and it's all recovery here for the 4. Chad Robinson, I think, pushing himself a little bit too hard here in the early goings, Justin.
Very much so right now, to the point where he's trying everything but the kitchen sink, and he keeps on over-rotating that car, which keeps losing any momentum he's gaining from trying to aggressively go into the corners. And now because of that, he's going to have to fight just to be in the top 6 right now, just barely able to get by James Edens.
Fighting right now with James Eden. He's just going to get that spot. Next in line is going to be 8 of Ray Farlow as they're coming to 2 laps remaining. Lewis Hewitt, meanwhile, is out to a nice, comfortable 3/10 of a second advantage over Brian Antonio as Robinson is continuing to slice his way through this field. He's already fighting for 3rd. That was, I think, a little bit naughty, but he's back up into the top 3.
Very aggressive move, but has to be the right time, especially with the white flag coming up at the flag stand.
Oh, we got a car upside down. Not actually sure who that is. That's actually Joshua Jewell who's on his lid. Let's try to see if we can get a replay of that after the finish. But Lewis Hewitt, he's going to come through corners number 3 and 4, and he's going to win this first heat race. Closely followed by Brian Antonio with Chad Robinson, James Edens, Ray Farlow, and Chase Rodman bringing up the finishing order there. Race results on your screen right here, right now. Hewitt, Antonio, Robinson, Edens, Farlow, and Rodman. Those are the cars that will be transferring to the feature event already, with Josh Jewell being the only car not to finish this, meaning that if there is a last chance qualifier, he will have to race his way through it. And that's going to bring us towards heat race number 2 right now. Starting grid for that coming up on your screens. And well, it's going to be all on your front runners here. Car in command of the field is going to be Ben McSweeney, with Austin Selman in that 2nd spot, Bobby Rafferty in 3rd, Cam Dance 4th, Justin Norwood 5th, Adam Elby 6th, and Steven Spies in 7th.
Yes, some more competitive drivers for sure in this split. I think you should expect to see some drivers who might have messed up a bit on their lines of qualifying to want to try and improve, of course, for these heats. Going to be interesting to see some of these drivers. I would keep an eye on a guy like Justin Norwood, who I have seen come back from mistakes in a few different races this year. And he's somebody I think that might be somebody that could move himself up for a battle, at least for the top 3 by the end of this heat. For McSweeney, of course, very close to keeping up with Lewis Hewitt in the qualifying, so he is another guy who I think, if he can get a good start, is going to probably be able to pull away single file, as long as he gets a clean start here for the Midgets.
It's a pretty international grid tonight as well, might I add. 3 Australian drivers checking in. We know that some of the Finnish guys like those USAC 360 sprint cars, so will we see the likes of Petri Katavara be able to get it in? We've been expecting him the last few weeks, but unfortunately hasn't quite had the iRating to hit that top split. But regardless, for this pole sitter of Ben McSweeney in the 14, he's going to be seeing what he can do from Club Australia, New Zealand, out in front of the field. And Austin Selman, probably one of the most well-known drivers on the iRacing service on dirt. Safety truck down pit road. The 14 car wastes no time. Ben McSweeney out to a big jump over the rest of the field. Selman will hold on to 2nd. And Rafferty is going to settle into 3rd, but he's going to immediately begin harassing that one of Semmelman.
Immediately trying to do so, but has to back off for the time being. You see Settleman trying to go on the higher side, a bit too much rotation. Almost lost him 2nd spot, but my goodness, what a great exit. He's going to try right along that higher line, and I think it's going to work because he's just about side by side with McSweeney. Look at those exits.
The different lines coming in. Here comes that one machine of Selman fighting for this race lead. Going to not quite be able to pull alongside, but look at the run. He's going to get up along the top, goes back to the top side in 1 and 2. Working lap 3 of 8, and they're going to be almost wheel to wheel, banging wheel to wheel. And the one of Austin Selman, I think he's going to be able to pull this off and just drive right around the outside of the 14 of Ben McSweeney. We have a new leader in heat race number 2 of Austin Selman. He's going to lead them through 1 and 2.
Yeah, and he's running the highest line out of anyone on the racetracks too. So as you said, that line definitely starting to work itself in. And he's the only one really making it stick for the most part. Although Cameron Dance is starting to try that out as he moves to 3rd.
The 9 of Bobby Rafferty got a little bit of a touch there from Cameron Dance, and he's dropped down from that 3rd spot, currently running in 6th. He has a 13 of Steven Spies just out in front of him. Now you see that 5 car just currently running his way through. That's Adam Elby. and the fight is still on close for the race lead. So we need to see, can Ben McSweeney make something of this with 2 laps to go? He's still trying to run that lower groove where Selman's moving himself slowly up to the top. But look at the run that one car gets off that top groove. 2 laps to go, Justin, and the 14 has no answer to that at the moment.
No answer right now because Selman is getting great exits out of both corners. So any gains he's making, McSweeney on the bottom is coming to null and void. White flag is out on the racetrack.
This white flag flies in the 14 of Ben McSweeney. Going to try everything he can. He gets a good run, actually, down there. Will he be able to make something of this, or is he going to be just a little bit short? Pulls almost alongside, but that's going to cut off the momentum. And Austin Selman in the 1 is going to win heat race number 2. And the rest of your results coming up on your screen. McSweeney is comfortably in 2nd, Dance in 3rd, LB 4th, Steven Spies in 5th, Justin Norwood 6th, and Bobby Rafferty not having a great heat race. He's going to finish in that 7th spot. Lost a lot of positions, but this is going to immediately bring us to our feature event, Justin. So absolutely no last chance qualifier tonight. Why don't you take us down our starting grid?
Well, the starting grid for tonight as it gets all formed up after the heat. Lewis Hewitt starts on the front row with Austin Sullivan starting alongside him. Brian Antonio and Ben McSweeney will start off in row number 2 tonight. Chad Robinson and Cameron Dance will be in row number 3 while James Edens and Adam Elby start behind them. Ray Farlow and Steven Spies will try and move up just at the edge of the top 10. Chase Rodman and Justin Norwood will try and get back into the top 10. After some struggles in the heats, Joshua Jewell and Bobby Raftery are also definitely wanting to improve. Jewell, of course, having issues in his heat. Raftery, of course, had been in 3rd spot in his heat at one point. So a few different drivers definitely want to recover and move themselves back up to the front for the 20 laps tonight.
Handful of drivers to really keep an eye on. Lewis Hewitt and Austin Selman, 2 of the best open wheel drivers on the sim for sure. We've also seen Austin Selman show off some late model driving highlights, and I'm sure he's wheeled things like the modifieds and such as well. But here on Racespot TV, we really know him for his ability to wheel the midgets and the sprint cars. They have one more 4/10 of a mile lap around here. And hopefully you're not into getting the lowest common denominator on fractions. Otherwise, if you're a math nerd, you're going to be hating every single time anyone talks about the length of this racetrack. But regardless, iRacing safety truck pulling down to the safety of pit road here this time. And it'll be the number 3 of Lewis Hewitt who will be in command of the field. 20 laps on board for the iRacing Midget Cup here in this 3rd installment of Friday Dirt Night. Of course, it is Saturday. But besides the point, the racing is still amazing. Waiting. Accordion effect in the midfield, and Hewitt gets onto that gas pedal. We are green in the feature event for the midgets on Dirt 9. Hewitt pulls out to an early lead, where the one of Selman is going to work the top, trying to fight with Brian J. Antonio. BJ is going to look down to the bottom here. Will he be able to slide Austin? Yes, he does, but Austin cuts it back down low, and he's going to pick that 2nd spot back up.
And as you see, trying to go for a slide job battle, Antonio gets a decent exit after a nice slide on the bottom. Maybe he tries to go for a slide job in a potential crossover. Going to keep it safe with Settlement on the high side. A little bit of chaos on behind them, but right now, these guys are going to stick side by side. There you see Antonio really trying to push the issue, and that's actually going to help Settlement go for the split time for the time being at least. Keep the 2nd spot as they go just about single file, but somebody charging through the field. Ben McSweeney, he fell back outside the top 5, back up into the top 5. He's in a battle himself with Chad Robertson right up in front of them.
We're right on board with Ben a little bit here. He runs through 3 and 4. He sees so down low, really working that wheel, really cranking it to the right, trying to hold that thing in the line that he's trying to do so, and continuing to work his way through this field as he's working that middle groove with the 6 of Cam Dance. Cam's going to be able to pick that spot up, though. That's another person who's showing great speed, but this fight for the race lead is still fierce as the 1 and the 7 are still fighting door to door with Lewis Hewitt just out in front, and the number 4 has checked into this fight as well. So Chad Robinson is there to be a part of this.
Yeah, and if this battle keeps on up, it's going to become a 6-car battle. Look at the shuffling, though. That was just about 3 wide. Hewitt's still able to keep the lead. We got a caution out, though, in 3 and 4. It's Bobby Raftery around.
So Bobby Rafferty is around here. Replay of that coming up on your screens right now. Not sure what happened to him, but the first caution coming in after 5 laps happened in 3 and 4. This replay checked in about a lap early. See, he was fighting with that number 8 car down there underneath them. That is Ray Farlow. They headed off corner number 2. Big fight happening as they headed now through 3 and 4. Oh, it's actually Two Machine who spun Bobby, and that's a big hit. Another car got involved as well. I believe that was McSweeney. No, it was Adam Elby.
Yeah, a few different drivers getting into that. Basically, from what I'm seeing on the replay, just had a loss of momentum, and James Edens, I believe that was, who ended up burning to the back, had a lot of momentum going to the corner, just did not have it go up, and then, of course, sends Rafferty around in the corner, and now he's going to have to go to the pits for at least the time being as they go and file themselves up behind the pace truck.
So they're going to file themselves single file restarts in the Midget Cup, and the lights are already out. Always a fan of that because it means we get one last lap of caution. So wait for the field to have to form themselves up. And we're already going back to green flag racing. First handful of laps run under green flag conditions, and then a few laps of caution here to sort of reset the field. Fight out in front has been fierce, and the 6 of Cameron Dance has checked in here. This is going to be a fierce restart for sure. Lewis Hewitt back in command of the field for the 2nd time tonight, and we're waiting. Some people trying to predict it. Here we go. There goes the 3 machine getting onto it. Look at the margin he has over the one of Austin Selman right now. BJ Antonio has his hands full with Chad Robinson and Cam Dance. Dance has already gotten his way around, as now he's going to be starting to work on that number 4 machine. 3 wide for the 3rd spot as they come towards the front straightaway.
Yeah, but the caution flag comes out because Joshua Jewell went around in the middle of 3, got bounced on the right side and went sideways, was able to recover it, but then, of course, draws the caution with it being more than 90 degrees around, as I believe he got bumped into by Chase Rodman.
So let's see what happens to him here. Riding on board with him for Josh Jewell. He's good here up until now. Oh, a little bit of a mark, and well, unfortunately, that is going to trigger the yellow. Just a little bit of over-aggressive driving. He's going to send someone around like that almost every single time. Luckily, we don't lose anyone in that little contact, but it's going to be a nice little reset of the field. These guys just need to be patient with each other, Justin. These little midget cars have been putting on one of the best shows that they have thus far this season. The first race a little bit caution-filled. Last week, a bit cleaner. If they can, I think, go to the end from here, it's going to be an amazing run to the checkers.
It definitely will. These guys are definitely putting on an entertaining show, and of course, it is definitely some fun racing. I've tested this out a little bit myself with these cars. These are actually some pretty fun ones to drive for anyone who's interested with this, of course. So these guys are probably enjoying themselves as well on that racetrack. Of course, going to be even more enjoyable if they can go all the way to the green. It just has to come down to patience and then timing out the perfect time to make your moves, especially coming towards 7 laps to go next time by.
Going to be 7 to go indeed on this race, and because of that, let's go change it to the laps to go graphic. Light still on the safety truck. Lewis Hewitt has led every single lap thus far in the feature tonight. Selman, of course, very quick, and he's been close. He just has to time the restart. We've seen that a couple times, Justin, guys trying to predict that, and it's caused an accordion effect in the midfield, so people need to just calm themselves down. You see Cam Dance running down low with the single file restart rules. Basically, you're going to see people generally defend the top because you can make passes around the outside of someone before start finish, but you cannot go underneath them. So Cam Dance running that low is going to be at a little bit of a risk for himself here, and hopefully he doesn't end up biting him in the backside. And he gets it backed up to the top side. Now field once again control of Hewitt. Green flag flies. See a couple people fanning out side by side. We're back to green flag racing here in the midget. So we got one car in the wall. It's the 7 of BJ Antonio.
Yeah, Antonio almost went sideways, just about wall ride the thing, and now he's going to fall outside the top 5. These cars can bounce around like that. It's going to take a bit to recover, and he bounces off an air car, in fact. That was Ray Farlow he bounced off the side of.
So the 7 machine getting very aggressive, trying to recover here after that mistake. And look at this little gaggle in the mid-pack. Insane driving, and you see he's throwing it right up against that outside wall. Gets a big run on the 8 machine. Need to check in for the fight with the race lead. And Austin Selman is throwing moves on Lewis Hewitt. They're going to be wheel to wheel. Off of corner number 2, you see BJ in the background sliding up around the top. TTL teammate of Hewitt. He's checked in. It's Cam Dance running for 3rd. So still a 3-car scrap for the race lead. There's one looking to the outside of Lewis, one looking to the bottom. As caution's gonna fly. No, guys, come on. We were having a great fight out in front. And that's gonna, I think, end it. There's only 3 laps to go. Who was it that went around?
It was Ben McSweeney, unfortunately for him. That was just after the start and finish, it looks like, and got bounced from Antonio from his left front, heading the right rear of McSweeney. So he goes around like a bottle top. He falls all the way from 5th at the start finish line the last time around to this time, just staying in the top 10. Unfortunate for Ben McSweeney for sure.
Gonna have to get another look at this one because the initial angle wasn't all that great. Maybe from the Racespot TV blimp we can get a good look. You see him working, fighting with that 7 car in towards, I believe that's 1 and 2. BJ's gonna hook up the top, and well, I think it would have been happening right about here. No, not yet. In towards 3 and 4. Maybe he's coming off of this corner, as I know we have the white flag on, so we'll check on the leader in just a moment. But yeah, that's pretty much all on Ben. Kind of drove up there as if BJ wasn't there. But someone who's going to be a happy camper is a man who only led 1 lap, just nosed ahead at the line just before that caution flew. And because of that, the number 1 of Austin Selman is going to win week number 3 of Dirt Night for the Midgets. A little bit anticlimactic with the yellows, I know, but the guys in the mid-pack didn't want them to end it under clean and green. But that number 1 machine of Austin Selman, he's going to be a happy camper as he wins here at Charlotte.
Definitely a happy camper. You see him burning out, trying to use the back wheels. But before that caution came too, he was getting the speed he needed to at the right time, using the higher line. So I think it would have been a close battle, of course, but he was starting to really show he had the stronger car for the final couple laps of this one, with that top side really starting to work itself in.
So let's actually take a look, see if we can watch some of those last couple laps where Selman was fighting for the race lead. It's going to be a little bit trying to get her way there. This would have been, I think, just as the caution went out. So started this queued up on lap number 15. So this is going to give us an idea of the last few laps of what was happening out there. We were sort of checking in with several different fights with that one number 1 car. He's the one who ended up winning this. So when does he end up making the move on Lewis Hewitt? At what point does he nose ahead just barely for that race lead? You see him fighting with Cam Dance right there. All 3 cars really scrapping it out in towards 3 and 4, and I think this is around the time that move is going to start coming in. It's going to be pretty much any moment. See him lokes down to the bottom, gets underneath Lewis, throws it down there, and he noses out ahead right there. And let's see, what does the field do? Everyone's still racing, and the 14 car, importantly, still hasn't gone around, so incident hasn't come in yet. 1 car looks up top above Lewis, and he's still not quite there just yet. And they're 3 wide right here, and I think this is when it came in. He just muscled his way around both Cam Dance and Lewis. And, well, that's all it takes, Justin, to get a win in Dirt Night in the Midgets tonight.
Yeah, that's all it takes, I guess you can say. Definitely a photo finish with that caution flag coming out. But definitely a talented victory. That close, of course. Definitely had to feel it for the drivers trying to battle for that 3 wide situation, because one little twitch of a wheel and it would have been a completely different winner, I think you can say, for this one.
Think that is indeed the situation, as we're now going to be stood by with driver that number 1 car, Austin Selman. Justin Prince has joined him to have a chat. Joining us now, Austin Selman.
How are you feeling after coming away with that victory? It was, of course, a photo finish with the caution flag coming out. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Man, that was a great race with Lewis. Some connection issues going on where his car was a little bit jumpy on my end, so I kind of had to be really careful all race long. I felt really quick up there once I could enter the corner how I wanted to, and I just messed up qualifying there. But you know, unlucky for Lewis. You know, I got a nose on him and I got the lead there. So feeling fortunate, but I put myself in the position and came out on top here.
Of course, with these midgets, you were having some good runs, of course, after the qualifying in the heats and as well in this feature race. How did you find a way to get the higher line to work tonight, more heading towards the cushion? Because for much of the night, the racing was more in the lower middle to middle exactly of the racetrack.
Well, honestly, I actually qualified more towards up there too. I'm pretty sure everybody else hugged the bottom, but I ran it sounds weird, but I ran a late model race here a couple weeks ago and kind of learned that line, that middle kind of diamond line. And when the track was tacky like that, it seemed to be really fast. So I just tried it in these. This is my first race in these all week, so I just tried it. It seemed to work all right. So you can carry a lot of momentum and keep it wound up there.
And of course, it was a lot of battling as well before those final couple laps. Of course, talk us through trying to find a way to get by Lewis, to get by Cameron in under the green flag conditions, because you just about set up the move when that came down with it coming towards that 3 wide, as you said before.
Yeah, I was just, like I said, being really patient, just waiting for my opportunity. I saw Lewis get a little bit loose on the bottom a couple of times, so I figured if I packed it in on the top and have it stick and get get a nose on him, I could have a good chance. But kind of just worked out for me that way. And I saw Brian slid me once there, and I saw a couple of other noses along the way. But kind of just held my line up there and held the pedal down and tried to make something happen.
Is there anyone you want to thank or anything before we let you go for tonight?
Yeah, definitely. Dirt Collective, Team VLR, Dirt Division, Off-Camera TV, everybody at VLR, they do a great job, and you guys for doing a fantastic job as always.
Thank you very much, Austin. Congratulations on the victory tonight.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it.
That was Austin Settleman coming away with the victory tonight for the Dirt Midgets. And I believe Randy Chenowth has your third-place finisher and Cameron Dance. Randy?
Yep, I'm going to be stood by with that driver of the number 6 car, Cam Dance, who came home in third. And Cam, you guys were getting ready to have a fantastic fight, and unfortunately right there at the end, it got sort of taken away from us. How is that number 6 TTL machine hooked up?
Yeah, it was quite good actually. A bit disappointing about the finishing under caution, but yeah, I'll happily walk away with a third place finish after quite a good battle with Lewis and Austin. So yeah, it was a pretty good race.
And I'll talk about this. I haven't seen you guys very often in the midgets. I'm sure you guys are like, hey, Racespot's broadcasting it, so suddenly we're going to care about this like all the racers do. How do you find these little open wheel cars compared to the sprint cars we've seen you in the past?
Yeah, they're quite good cars to drive. I mean, they're obviously a driver car with no downforce, so you've actually got to sort of manhandle the car a bit more. But yeah, they're actually quite a good car, and I do enjoy them a lot myself. I do tend to race official quite a bit. But yeah, it's been an interesting learning curve initially, and then we've started to more or less get the setup and everything right, and it's eventually got to the point that we're starting to run up the front.
And now looking forward to a little bit deeper, we have never seen you guys in the Rallycross stuff, but of course the non-winged USAC 360s are what we end Dirt Night with. You guys going to be planning on running those?
Not sure at the stage. Probably we will be, but I'm not entirely sure. I have to see what happens.
Well, thanks for joining us, Cam. Before we let you go, any shout-outs, who would you like to thank after the good run tonight?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the boys at TTL Esports for the hard work behind the scenes they always do and all the support they give, and also our sponsors Hyperstimulator, Down Under Graphics, Ash Media, Speedway Footage, and you guys also for putting on a great broadcast.
Cameron Dance, driver of the number 6, Justin, and well, those guys, they seem pretty satisfied with themselves, their ability to get running across multiple of the cars that we have here on the sim.
Yeah, definitely a happy driver, and of course it takes a lot of skill to drive in multiple different cars at a high level rather than just compete at a high level in one then lower level in the other. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens later on tonight when these drivers head for the non-winged sprint cars later on for Knoxville. This is definitely going to be an entertaining night, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be an entertaining evening indeed. I am noticing, for those, in case anyone's, I'll just say that if anyone's complaining about the frame rate, I'm looking into it already. I'll just say that. But regardless, Justin, next up, we have the Global Rallycross stuff running another week at Iowa. It was a very, very fun race at that racetrack last week. I think that Rallycross event is going to be amazing.
It should be a lot of, with the Rallycrosses, of course, a lot of good jumps, a lot of good racing with that series. It's actually a pretty enjoyable series that I do a little bit here and there from time to time for fun, so it's definitely something that can definitely provides a lot of good racing across the circuit, especially at a track like Iowa. I think one of the better tracks right now on the service for sure right now.
So that we are going to step away for a short time here on Racespot TV and iRacing Live. Do not go away. In 10 minutes, the server launches for round number 3 of the Red Bull Global Rallycross Championship. We will be bringing you that in just a couple of moments.
When I sat in the car, you always wonder, what's it going to feel like? You know, it was my first time driving a mid-engine GT car. You know, my thoughts were, wow, this is really good for our first time in a car. I was really surprised by it. You're sitting low, you got the A-pillars at steep angles, the windshields at steep angles, you can see the fender flares. I think we have a chance to win. Everything's got to go right, but I think we have a car that can win the race or be on the podium. But can you imagine how cool that would be to go back 50 years later to the year and do it?
Kyle Kimball. I am the Manager of Operations in the Motorsports Department for Mazda North American Operations. We are at Bondurant Racing School here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are putting on the Mazda Road to 24 shootout. We started with 14 qualifiers that submitted business plans to us, and from those 14, we narrowed it down to 4. Those qualifiers were Celine Roland, Tyler Casera, John Allen, and Preston Pardis.
For me, the first session was just, the memorization piece of the track. I probably was halfway through the session before I felt like there were 2 or 3 places I could push. Now I knew what was next. I already see some differences in preference of, how people approach certain turns, or certainly the braking into the first chicane is a little bumpy. So there's a lot to learn, but that's part of the fun.
So as a judge, what we're looking for from these drivers is the opportunity that they take the information that we give them. They can then make themselves a better driver on the racetrack, and then we get to see that instantaneously the next session when we go out there. So we can see whether they can listen to us and comprehend what we're saying, put it into practice, and then see the result.
I'm Jonathan Bomarito. I race the Mazda factory RT24P prototype for Mazda in the IMSA series. We've had 4 really impressive guys here today, all going for a $100,000 scholarship to run in the MX5 Cup series next year.
I'm Preston Pardis. I'm from New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Actually, I've had iRacing since 2010, so I'm a 5-star gold member on the forums. Nothing like hopping on, with a few buddies and do a few sessions, but it's great when you're learning a track. There's nothing like physically driving a racetrack. You can look at video data, but nothing does justice to where you want to really place your car, and it really transfers really well. I think you need to do it nowadays.
Hi, I'm Tyler Casera. I'm an at-large nominee here at the shootout, Spec Miata racer, and won a couple championships in SCCA and NASA. iRacing is, I think, a huge tool, great tool for me to prepare for race weekends and just hone my craft and stay sharp when I'm not actually at the track.
Hey, my name is Salim Rayan, 9th year Mazda racer. I currently race Spec Miata. Honestly, the first thing I thought of when I got in this car was how similar it is to iRacing.
Took us one final session, but we do have a winner of the $100,000 value scholarship into the 2018 Mazda MX-5 Cup, and that winner is Celine Roland. Congratulations.
It's incredible knowing that now I'm a Mazda factory driver. I work for Mazda, Classic Mazda in Orlando, Florida, and now I'm a Mazda factory driver. It's kind of my life now, even more than it was before. Just a professional race car driver. That's what everyone's dream is, and my dream has become a reality.
One driver of note, John Allen, came here today mainly with an iRacing background, and it was pretty impressive, actually, I must say, how he started off. That he drove 3 sessions, every session solid improvement, lap times were coming down. I was very impressed actually with his approach, and a lot of that comes through the iRacing, and you really see how beneficial that is for these drivers trying to come up through the ladder.
I've just started to watch my son get involved in iRacing, and it wasn't available when I was around, so I'm really captive now about how it can increase the ability for a driver to come to a racetrack and know the racetrack and really have a good feel of what to expect, and we're seeing that with all the iRacing competitors that we've had come through the program so far. And this year with John Allen, and I've already said this to him, remarkably impressed with how well he has done.
So through our partnership with iRacing, John Allen beat 17,000 other online racers to make it here today, which in and of itself is an incredible accomplishment. He showed today that he absolutely deserved to be with the 3 other drivers on track. He showed consistency and learning every single time he was on the track. He was in 3 sessions, and each session he got faster, sometimes by a half a second. The progression that he showed throughout the day was absolutely tremendous.
I'm pleased with my performance. I'm pleased with the feedback I got, the opportunity to get the level of coaching that we did. My goal right now is to make it back here next year, you know, through the real world competition, and just make it back as an at-large bid. I know a little more about the process. It leaves me better prepared to come back and attack. No doubt, you know, the list is long of people to thank. My wife and our dog, and they were just fun road trips. We even snuck a family reunion in between 2 of the events this year, and to that end, my family, you know, supporting me in this. They don't need to understand it, they just know I love it, and that's enough for them to support me and push me further. Clearly, the practice I received over the last few years using iRacing is very applicable. To come out here and do a serviceable job, even a highly competitive job, is almost entirely due to that. So I intend to still be a regular on there and continue honing my skills and find some more tracks to translate that to next year.
It wouldn't be Dirt Night without one of the ever-growing series in the motorsport universe. The virtual version as entertaining, as challenging, as triumphant as the real thing. Only for those, though, that can master it on the world stage. And here we are at Iowa Speedway in the USA, which hosts Week 3 action, Season 2 for the iRacing Red Bull Global Rallycross Series. All coverage today on Racespot TV, streaming live on iRacingLive, of course, as usual, around the 1 kilometer, 0.66 mile Iowa layout. Anti-clockwise, as you can see, the infield contains some short dirt sections. The rest of the lap is mostly tarmac as well. 8 turns to challenge the drivers, and lap times around that 36 to 37 second range, of course. We're going to have 2 heat races coming up for every single driver out there. The top 4 from each heat race will advance to the final feature race. The ones who don't will go to the consolation round. The top 2 from there will advance to the feature, and then that's where we play and see who the best of the best is today for Week 3 Season 2 action for Red Bull GRC. Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth here alongside Randy Chenowth, and it's good to be back, Randy. Another round here at Iowa. This is a track where what I find interesting as we head towards qualifying at the moment is just that joker lap around here. You really skip most of that middle tarmac section. It's an 11-second joker delta. It is easily the biggest shortcut of all the jokers that we have on the sim, and we've seen it a few times on Dirt Night races be something that's really, really interesting. It tends to cause a big shakeup, and something we really have to keep track on, as opposed to most of the jokers we have, which tend to only be a couple seconds or so of an advantage. Yeah, exactly. So we look at a few drivers now setting their qualifying times. You're looking at the likes of guys who would be quick around here today. The number 2, Johan Hart, very quick, we know, Randy, because last week he achieved something, and in the past couple of weeks he's achieved something we thought never could be done. Well, it helps when Mitchell's not actually there, but so for Johan, he's going to slowly go past start-finish. Doesn't look like he's too keen on starting lap. Actually hasn't started a lap, but Julian Shine is on his first hot lap right now. He's working through that first sector right now and in towards the asphalt section of the racetrack that is so tight. This first 180-degree right-hand hairpin that is tight. And then you get to the second one, which makes the first one seem like a pretty wide open corner.
And here it goes to the long bank straight here. About 12 degrees of banking, but they're not going to take that. They're going to make it as flat as usual, of course. Very tight left-handed hairpin, and then he's going to hit the jump and the dirt section to end the lap here. Boom goes Shine, and I think he might have clouted the tire barrier there around the outside. And that lap time, nothing to show for it. He did hit the barrier.
It didn't actually count there for him, so unfortunate. See what other drivers they have out there on the racetrack. Stilian Chipolevsky is starting an out lap. Who do we actually have? We have Remy DuPont, driver I don't think seen too often in this series. He's starting a qualifying lap right now, his first of 3, and he's going to take that quick chicane into the tight hairpin section now as well.
Here's Remy DuPont, and he's just trying to get as much grip as possible. That's the challenge, Randy, in GRC, is that the tarmac sections are really a different beast to the dirt, and that's where your driving style has to adapt, setups too. Here's Remy DuPont, though, coming towards the end of the lap.
Yeah, you need to have a good balance setup. Some of the tracks are a little bit more easily dominant in terms of how the dirt is distributed. Here you need to be very careful because there are some awkward sections, especially this long left-hander, where you need to be able to have good traction. It's a good lap there from Remy DuPont, the 36.9, but currently it's Evan Millard on pole, the 36.337, closely followed by Stilian Chipolevsky is a 36.339. Evan just improved to a 2.51, however.
Yep, there we go. So quick lap time, of course, as usual. There's Logan Clampett on screen. He's out of he's out of the car at the moment. Connor Parisi, though, he's rounding himself around the tarmac section of the racetrack. Here he comes now. This is where the Joker ends around the outside. You can see there at the top of the screen. But Parisi, though, will continue. Going to shorten the racetrack as much as possible and go for the inside. He hasn't got a lap time to his name at the moment. Connor Parisi, though, one big jump to go, and we'll see where this lap time will put him here in the order. Cross the line. Oh, puts him last. Oh, all that hype, Randy, for nothing.
Yeah, all that hype for nothing. He'll have time to do another one, though. Minute and a half left on the timing sheets. Is a couple of drivers out there. Stilian's already used his allotted laps. Same with Julian. Remy DuPont is on the end of his final hot lap. 36.922. He's only just ahead of Connor Parisi as he's going to work himself through the final sector up and over the jump. And will he improve? No, he won't. 300 slower. So he's going to be starting down the order at worst. Well, at best, pretty much. There's no one else to really do any times, I don't think. Just clicking through. Repisard is on his second lap. He has time to potentially improve from that 8.42 in that VEC Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, we may see DuPont in the first stint unless Connor Parisi improves, but let's look at Tony Repisard here. Tony Repisard through the dirt section. Now it ends. This is where you don't want to be sliding too much, especially through the tarmac. And he seems to be slowing down, isn't he, Tony Repisard? Doesn't look quick at all.
He's still going. Very slow corner, that long right-hander, and he's still on it as he comes back up onto the oval. He's actually going to utilize that banking a little bit more than other drivers we've seen. I don't know if the pace differential is actually that much, but he's going to drop down now, and he's way too wide there. This is a very slow time indeed, actually, for Repisard as it ended up panning out, but I think he lost most of it in those final couple sectors. Logan Clampett, by the way, doesn't get a time, but with that, we have your starting grid for heat race number 1. Johnny Simone, take us down it.
Yep, definitely. Evan Malliard on pole position. Brilliant lap time from him. Julian Shine will join him. He qualified third. Of course, all the odd-numbered cars make this Heat 1 grid at the moment. Odd-numbered cars in the qualifying results, I mean there. Stelian Chepolevsky will make that Heat 2 race, but Daniel Ackland joins Heat 1. Same for Johan Harth. Remy DuPont as well. Logan Clampett will round out the field. Here they go, Randy, for the start. It's a very tight corner 1 here at Iowa.
That it is very, very tight indeed as we're waiting for these guys to get themselves on the grid. Currently have 5 of the drivers, and well, it's a very blue oval dominated heat race as we now have all 6 on the grid. About 10 seconds till we go.
Here they go, though. Lights illuminating. 5 laps in Heat 1. We go green. Oh, brilliant start from the second row, though. I really like that. Daniel Ackland on the inside trying to find a move. But look at the top 2 here. Julian Shine just butchered out of the way by Evan Malliard. They all slide into that first dirt section. And here they go now, still slicing and dicing for position. Brilliant start from all the drivers. Couple of drivers taking to the Joker. Evan Malliard, one of them.
And that's normally what you expect to see. Basic strategy in these races, when you're out front, you need to maintain clear track. Julian Shine, I believe we have Daniel Ackland took it as well. So the drivers we've yet to see Joker are Julian Shine, Johan Hart, Logan Clampett, and Remy DuPont are the 4. That's still OS1. It's going to be Evan Millard and Ackland, who will be the 2 drivers who took that shortcut early. But where will they come out? We've seen these race clutch cars in the past. Joker fairly late and make up spots late on down the run.
Yep, and Daniel Ackland, there's issues for Daniel Ackland. He stopped. He looks like he's going to be out of this event, but something's going wrong for Ackland, and he's taking the Joker too, so he's got no chance of fighting his way back in this order. But rest of the lap now coming through. Johan Hart very close to Evan Malliard. He takes to the Joker as well. Very smart on that first lap by Evan to go for the Joker, and now he's built a great advantage.
Yeah, that he definitely did. Logan Clampett also took it too, so he cycles into the 3rd spot. I think now we just got to keep an eye really on Julian Shine to see where he comes up, because it's an 11-second delta, and he's 11.1 seconds off your race lead. Let's see where Julian Shine is going to cycle through. He's coming through the 2nd corner now, not going to hit it. And I actually like this for Julian Shine. You have more than clear track in front of you. Just log the quickest laps you can, bring that gap down as far as you can, and then hit that Joker lap at the last lap.
Yeah, this is very good for Julian, as Randy says. And now he's...
Clampy, you see, he's pretty much destroyed there. Really going for it all at the end, but...
Grid for this race at Iowa. And again, the first corner very, very tight. That's what's so... So back to the action. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We just have some tech issues we're trying to sort out here in terms of the audio, but the racing still, we're keeping an eye on that, and it's got never intense as Cheplevsky, we know, still leads. Bobby Zelensky will take to the Joker, and that will mean he line away from Daniel Ackland. What a start from Logan Clampett. Just has to make sure he doesn't hit the little bollard there. Clampett continues. He leads into the jump. Daniel Ackland right behind as well. And what about Logan? What about Connor Parisi trying to shuffle Daniel Ackland out of the way? Who's going to take to the Joker? Only one driver there of Logan Clampett, and he does it cleanly too. So Logan Clampett all on his own, perfectly timed. And that means Ackland and Parisi will have to fight for track position. Just trying to minimize all the sliding through the tarmac section in these 4-wheel drive cars. The 2 Beetles out there with Ackland and Paris, the leading car, a Fiesta of Logan Clampett, and he looks on target to make that consolation race. Only 2 drivers will make the the feature race, excuse me. Only 2 drivers will make that. Ackland go for the Joker. Parisi continues with some clear track. So where is Daniel Ackland going to feed out? And you can see the advantage he's lost there on Logan Clampett. Final couple of corners for these 2. Ackland seems to be catching Logan Clampett, so it comes ever closer. I'd be very surprised if Connor Parisi takes to the Joker this time round. He has to push. Certainly going to be keeping his eye on the relative times, but Parisi looks fast. And at the moment, he goes for the Joker. Connor Parisi only in 3rd at the moment, but he's got the momentum here on Daniel Ackland, heading to that hairpin left. Ackland slides and pushes a bit too deep, but Parisi hits the inside of the bollard. Hits the wall, and they make contact onto the jump. Parisi turns around Ackland, and Daniel Ackland with plenty of rear end damage to that Volkswagen. He's going to be out of the event, and I think at the moment, these 2 just need a finish, and they'll make that feature round. Not sure if I wouldn't say Parisi was too presumptuous. I'd say they were very excited. And with the other drivers watching on, there's some brilliant reactions going on behind the scenes from Sinjay Setsas, Bobby Zelensky as well. And just how spectacular that was. But here we are coming to the closing stages of this 6th lap consolation race. Everyone's used the Joker. Right now, Clampett and Parise will make it through unscathed. So Logan Clampett, he's just been on the ball, hasn't he? And he's pushing hard as well at this stage. Even runs wide at the left. And then over the jump he goes. Logan Clampett, nice and easy, nice and stable, and looking good for this final lap of the consolation race. So he'll be joined by the likes of Evan Maillard, Bobby Zelensky, Johan Harth, Julian Shine, Sindre Setsas, just an all-star cast of drivers. We'll hope to see these drivers in the World Championship soon, in a few weeks' time when that begins. And surely that's going to be one of the best World Championships we'll ever see in iRacing. This is such a thrilling series. As Logan Clampett comes across the line and wins the consolation race, followed by Connor Parisi. Parisi only a jump to go. And just has to keep it stable here on the exit. This is where he collided with Daniel Ackland. But there you go. Race over for the consolation round. Clampett and Parisi will make it through to the grand final feature race. So the starting grid for the feature race includes Evan Mallard, Delian Cheplevsky in second, Shine and Zelensky in third and fourth. Rest of the grid is Johan Harth, Sindre Setsas, Remy Dupont, Tony Reposard, and then we know our two consolation runners of Logan Clampett and Connor Parisi will take to the back of the field. Unfortunate for Daniel Ackland, who at this stage of the race is the only driver who started the event who will not compete in this final feature. 10 laps of action though around Iowa. And this is going to be very hard to keep track of. That Joker makes things more interesting. Here we go though. The lights will illuminate and disappear. Who's going to lead into that first right-hander? We go green from Iowa. Into turn number one here. Shine deep on the brakes in P3, and it looks like he might make his way in a second, although Cheplevsky makes that outside line work, and he's going to have the inside here on Evan Mallard. They go through the dirt section. Everybody just trying to keep their cool. Who's going to take to the Joker? It looks like Evan Mallard's done that as well. In second. Oh, wow. Nice move. Not even in the top four. So it's all about Mallard, Cheplevsky, and Shine in these closing stages. Through the hairpin left. Now onto the banked oval. They all go for the inside, that black section. Car doesn't get too unstable as they rejoin the banked oval. This will be the penultimate lap this time round though. Mallard, Cheplevsky, Shine. Oh, look, a carbon copy of each other here. It looks like no one's ready to pounce on the other. Shine looked a bit slower through the tarmac section there for a little bit. Just such a different beast to that middle dirt section where some drivers may be quicker to others, of course. But the rest of the pack looks to be spread out as well down the order. Setsas fourth, Johan Harth fifth. It looks to remain the same for those three, but these three here on the final lap will push one more time. Will Mallard keep it together? Will Cheplevsky do the same? Will Shine be the dark horse and provide something we would never think would be possible at this stage? Would be a very tough overtake for Julian Shine. Only a couple more corners to go. And Evan Maillard will take out Dirt Knight. If he can keep it together through the bump, slight lockup for Evan Maillard. Here he is for the jump though. Stelian Cheplevsky getting close, but it's going to be all Evan Maillard as the checkered flag waves. Cheplevsky in second. Shine rounds out the podium, followed by Sindre Setsas and Bobby Zelensky in fourth and fifth. What a race there though. Evan Maillard more than happy with that. And in 6 minutes there in that 10-lap feature race, just absolute heartbreak for everybody else who could have had a shot here at taking a win without the big name Mitchell de Jong in action. So burnouts from Mallard. I can't see a thing now. He's white smoke all over the screen. And congratulatory remarks from all the drivers too. A well-deserved victory for Evan Mallard. So let's have a look at the results here for this feature race. Evan Mallard in the first position. He wins the overall event here on Dirt Night for iRacing and Racespot TV. Cheplevsky and Shine round out the podium in second and third. Setsas and Zelensky are your top 5. Zelensky with the joker there in the end. It just didn't pay off, leaving it too late. Johan Hart the same. He ended up in 6th, but Parisi made it through that consolation race and ended up doing pretty well here. Ended up finishing 7th overall. Repoussard, Dupont, and Logan Clampett rounded out your 10-car field. Zelensky very happy in the end. He didn't actually collide with the driver of Sindre Setsas, and they're having a bit of a laugh about that. But Cheplevsky is here for an interview. And Stelian Cheplevsky, who came home in the 2nd position. Damn, what a race. Again, you just came within 4/10 there at the end. I got very excited through that final jump. But talk about your feature race there. It became very entertaining with that early joker.
Yeah, good evening first. And I'm happy finally this time I can hear you and you can hear me. So
Yes.
the feature, what happened? My teammate was in front, so we decided to split the tactic.
Yeah.
And it was clearly on pace. But I had just a little damage after the jump, so I decided to take the joker early. And Evan was just amazing. He's really quick on this track. So, but finally, I'm so happy. Fusion Racing got 1-2 tonight. It's great result for the team.
And also, I want to say, you talk about such a tough track at Iowa too. No Mitchell DeYoung this round either. Do you think drivers are now trying to figure out how to beat Mitchell? Is he the only guy you're focusing on beating? Because there is a lot of talent out there, and you're one of the drivers included who are part of this big talent.
Oh, God. I cannot separate myself from the other guys around. I really believe all those guys tonight, we are just the same level, the same pace. And I'm sure everyone goals is catching Michel. But God, this guy is just so quick. I mean, he's great talent. And if he takes even win today against the two of the best sim racers ever. So, but yeah, we keep trying. With Evan, we test a lot, we practice a lot, and I hope we're catching step by step.
Well, we'll speak to Evan in a second, but final thing I want to give to you is say your thank yous. Anybody else you want to plug as well, feel free to do so.
Yeah, Fusion Racing, our new team, and all the guys involved into that team, you guys for putting that great show, and of course iRacing for the great service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's something I haven't heard before. I like that though. That's a good there. Good stuff from Stelian Cheplevsky. You came home in 2nd overall in Dirt Night. We'll hope to see you win sometime soon, Stelian. That's what you got to aim for next.
I will. I'm sure. One day.
I've seen you win before, just not. I haven't seen you in GRC yet. You'll do it one day, but there you go. Cheplevsky.
I will, yeah, definitely. I will.
Cheplevsky in 2nd. We're going to speak to Evan Mallard now, who actually won the overall event. Evan, welcome. Here you are. Race win. How does it feel at the end of that feature race? It looked like you played the strategy to perfection.
How does it feel? Well, what can I say? Just fucking amazing. Sorry for swearing, but I've been waiting for this for like the last 3 months, and well, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I've done it.
Banned. Apologies about that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But Evan, we can tell you're extremely excited, and just most of all, this track at Iowa Are you an expert at that tarmac section? Do you think, is that what suited you here? Are you just overall quick? Is that just how good you are?
I wouldn't be pretentious enough to say that I'm good everywhere, but yeah, especially Iowa is very good for me because of all the tarmac. Well, as I'm usually racing more on asphalt than dirt, but yeah, the fact that there's not much dirt, maybe it helps me a bit. But yeah, I've practiced a lot too, so it pays in the end, and I'm so glad.
How are you going for the World Championship at the moment? You look like you looking confident for that when that comes around?
Oh well, if the pace stays, then for sure we're gonna be fighting for the top spots in the Pro, I guess. But first we have to qualify. I haven't been that lucky yet, so I hope the next races are gonna go better.
And most of all, just talk about you in qualifying. You look quick this whole round. It looked like you're untouchable during the race. Does that qualifying session set the confidence for the rest of the event, or is it just all about those heat races and avoiding contact and just getting some clean air?
Well, the thing is, you can qualify very good, but if something happens in the heat, then it can all go like for nothing. So yeah, no, it's all about the heat and the race. Qualifying is not worth much. Well, it is obviously important, but yeah, you know what I mean.
No, definitely. And finally, any thank yous you want to make?
Oh, well, thank you to Vision, of course, my team, and my teammate Steljan. We worked together like for the past 2 weeks, or three weeks now, and it's been so good. Like, I've progressed so much because of him. So yeah, thank you very much.
There you go, Evan Mallard, who wins the race. Did I pronounce your name correct there? Mallard? I keep saying it wrong, I think. Correct us.
It's Maillard.
Maillard. Oh, I like that. I should have known from the French flag too. So there you go, Evan Maillard. I'm going to work on that. But very sexy name and race win to his name as well. So brilliant event from Evan. We also spoke to Stallion in P2. Nobody else, though, unfortunately, for an interview. But we will leave you for USAC action, which will come up next here on Dirt Night. But join us, of course, as usual, in 1 week's time for more action of Red Bull GRC. We're most likely going to be at Daytona next week. Always entertaining at Daytona. For now, though, I've been Jonathan Simon, Randy Chenowth alongside me, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Kyle Kimball. I am the Manager of Operations in the Motorsports Department for Mazda North American Operations. We are at Bondurant Racing School here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are putting on the Mazda Road to 24 shootout. We started with 14 qualifiers that submitted business plans to us, and from those 14, we narrowed it down to 4. Those qualifiers were Celine Roland, Tyler Casera, John Allen, and Preston Pardis.
For me, the first session was just, the memorization piece of the track. I probably was halfway through the session before I felt like there were 2 or 3 places I could push. Now I knew what was next. I already see some differences in preference of, how people approach certain turns, or certainly the braking into the first chicane is a little bumpy. So there's a lot to learn, but that's part of the fun.
So as a judge, what we're looking for from these drivers is the opportunity that they take the information that we give them. They can then make themselves a better driver on the racetrack, and then we get to see that instantaneously the next session when we go out there. So we can see whether they can listen to us and comprehend what we're saying, put it into practice, and then see the result.
I'm Jonathan Bomarito. I race the Mazda factory RT24P prototype for Mazda in the IMSA series. We've had 4 really impressive guys here today, all going for a $100,000 scholarship to run in the MX5 Cup series next year.
I'm Preston Pardis. I'm from New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Actually, I've had iRacing since 2010, so I'm a 5-star gold member on the forums. Nothing like hopping on, with a few buddies and do a few sessions, but it's great when you're learning a track. There's nothing like physically driving a racetrack. You can look at video data, but nothing does justice to where you want to really place your car, and it really transfers really well. I think you need to do it nowadays.
Hi, I'm Tyler Casera. I'm an at-large nominee here at the Shootout, Spec Miata racer, and won a couple championships in SCCA and NASA. iRacing is, I think, a huge tool, great tool for me to prepare for race weekends and just hone my craft and stay sharp when I'm not actually at the track.
Hey, my name is Salim Rayan, 9th year Mazda racer. I currently race Spec Miata. Honestly, the first thing I thought of when I got in this car was how similar it is to iRacing.
Took us one final session, but we do have a winner of the $100,000 value scholarship into the 2018 Mazda MX5 Cup, and that winner is Salim Rayan. Congratulations.
It's incredible knowing that now I'm a Mazda factory driver. I work for Mazda, Classic Mazda in Orlando, Florida, and now I'm a Mazda factory driver. It's kind of my life now, even more than it was before. Just a professional race car driver. That's what everyone's dream is, and my dream has become a reality.
One driver of note, John Allen, came here today mainly with an iRacing background, and it was pretty impressive actually, I must say, how he started off, that he drove 3 sessions, every session solid improvement, lap times were coming down. I was very impressed actually with his approach, and a lot of that comes through the iRacing, and you really see how beneficial that is for these drivers trying to come up through the ladder.
I've just started to watch my son get involved in iRacing, and it wasn't available when I was around, so I'm really captive now about how it can increase the ability for a driver to come to a racetrack and know the racetrack and really have a good feel of what to expect, and we're seeing that with all the iRacing competitors that we've had come through the program so far. And this year with John Allen, and I've already said this to him, remarkably impressed with how well he has done.
So through our partnership with iRacing, John Allen beat 17,000 other online racers to make it here today, which in and of itself is an incredible accomplishment. He showed today that he absolutely deserved to be with the 3 other drivers on track. He showed consistency and learning every single time he was on the track. He was in 3 sessions, and each session he got faster, sometimes by a half a second. The progression that he showed throughout the day was absolutely tremendous.
I'm pleased with my performance. I'm pleased with the feedback I got, the opportunity to get the level of coaching that we did. My goal right now is to make it back here next year, through the real world competition, and just make it back as an at-large bid. I know a little more about the process. It leaves me better prepared to come back and attack. No doubt, the list is long of people to thank. My wife and our dog, and they were just fun road trips. We even snuck a family reunion in between 2 of the events this year, and to that end, my family, supporting me in this. They don't need to understand it. They just know I love it, and that's enough for them to support me and push me further. Clearly, the practice I received over the last few years using iRacing is very applicable. To come out here and do a serviceable job, even a highly competitive job, is almost entirely due to that. So I intend to still be a regular on there and continue honing my skills and find some more tracks to translate that to next year.
Well, it's time for it to come to a close. The third iteration of Dirt Night, and finally, my internet speed has decided to stabilize. Apologies to the Rallycross guys. That feature will be uploaded after this event. But round 3 of the USAC 360 Sprint Car Series here on Dirt Night. And also, just to reiterate, going next week, we will be back to Fridays for Dirt Night, not on Saturdays. Just be aware of that, everyone in the chat. But Randy Chenowth and Mr. Justin Prince is back as qualifying is taking their way out onto the track right now. All these drivers getting themselves out there, Justin, and these cars that put on such a great show. We saw an awesome round in the Midgets, and we saw an awesome race in these cars last week at Volusia. I think we could be in for another stunner.
That's for sure, especially at the sprint car capital of the world. And right now, they're already putting some good lap times in practice. It was in the 17.7s for the fastest of the field. And already, you have guys like Austin Settleman trying to put in good times. And some of them just trying to make sure they just don't stall out when crossing the line. So, a lot of good racing would be expected for sure tonight here in Knoxville.
That indeed. James Eden's currently, well, he was on the pole. Ryan O'Toole goes to the top with an 18.091. You see that green, black, and blue machine working across start-finish. Does not improve on his second lap. And Bobby Rafferty's actually going to jump him by a couple hundredths of a second. 18.079 is currently that pole spot. One driver I want to keep an eye on is Vinny Sansone. He's on his first time lap. One of the quickest cars last week in qualifying. He goes, I believe, to pole position with that lap of an 18.075.
Yes, it is just a Bobby Rafferty, that's for sure. Let's see if he can top this. You can see the line he's trying to use. It is dead in the center of the racetrack rather than going along the cushion to start. Wait for that to work on in. And that time, I believe, in fact, yeah. Going from a 18.075 to an 18.055. My goodness.
So a couple hundredths, he went quicker. Still a couple of drivers who owe us qualifying times. First one here is Drew Neal, who's working himself past that National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. And now in towards corners number 3 and 4. See him down along the bottom. Expect to see a lot of that tonight. Normally the non-winged cars don't like the top, especially at these big racetracks. First time is an 18.326 for him. That's going to put him way, way, way down the order. 3 full tenths of a second off your pole sitter. He's going to work through 3 and 4 for the final time. Now he's going to work the middle. Let's see, will he improve whatsoever? Nope, he's going to call it quits. No improvement from him. Lewis Hewitt, terrible qualifying from Lewis, 19.746. He's a full tenth, or he's a full second and a half off of everyone.
Yeah, I'm right now looking at this myself from this. I think he just had a botched up in turns 3 and 4. Yeah, exactly what I think he did. Then he had to reset, and I don't think he got enough to as much speed as he wanted to with that lap. So, yeah, he just absolutely is going to have to do as well as he can in the heats now because of that. And we're going to see exactly what he can do in this next upcoming heat.
So we'll have to see indeed what he is capable of. Field getting themselves ready for heat race number 1. And let's take a quick trip down the starting grid for that one. Cue the music, cue the graphic. There you see on your left the starting grid. Vinny Sansone, he was quickest at Volusia last week, but didn't quite have the stability in race trim, especially in the heats and in the feature. See that, he finished in the mid-pack. David Heileman will be starting on the outside of the front row with Ryan O'Toole and James Edens on that second row. Jacob Melvin, Alec Crasper, Garrett Holsey, Drew Neal, and Lewis Hewitt rounding out the back, and it really is going to be a factor of just watching and see how that number 9 car can recover over the course of this first heat race, Justin.
Yeah, it's going to take patience. Yes, you still have 8 laps to deal with, but if you don't get yourself up to where you need to be, then you're going to potentially have to deal with the consolation. So, going to have to expect to see him try and be patient for the first few laps, then try and make his way through and wait for the perfect opportunities and wait for mistakes. And he's already going way off back, trying to coil himself up already, I think, trying to just figure things out as he's going to set up on the outside since he is in that 9th spot and on his own in that row.
So we have seen on Racespot TV and on iRacingLive several times the winged cars run around this place, and well, as everyone should have already come to realize if you've tuned in for these broadcasts, the non-winged cars, they move around a lot more. They'll hit a semi-similar top speed because they don't have anywhere near the drag, but they need to slow down a lot more for the corners, and it's going to be a very, very racing line dependent track here. Oftentimes you'll see a lot of racetracks, the wing sprint cars run one line and the non-wing cars run another one. Know from experience watching at my local Paris Auto Speedway, typically the wing cars are always up around the top and the non-winged cars typically run the middle to bottom grooves. How will that be a factor here at Knoxville? We have to wait and see. The field works themselves through corners number 3 and 4, and it's going to be in command of that bright orange number 7 of Vinny Sansone, iRacing safety truck, down to the safety of pit lane, and Vinny gets on it. We are green in heat race number 1.
A nice clean start. Sansone's all the way on his own, but Ryan O'Toole's just fighting his way, trying to keep third, but of course couldn't keep it as much as he wanted to on the bottom. Now James Edens is going to be right there. Should have a decent run, but nope, they're going to stay side by side for at least the time being. So you can see O'Toole really trying to make sure he pushes it. Both of them really almost over-rotated in turns 1 and 2.
A couple of other fights that are happening up and down the field. You see the 7 and the 3 of Sansone and Heileman have checked out. Edens, O'Toole, and Melvin, they're currently the closest fight, 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now. Then you see the number 4 of Lewis Hewitt. He's working his way through the field, already up 1 spot on Drew Neal. And he can put another car, I believe that's Alex Kraft, the white number 9, up there around the top. So he's up 2 positions in 2.5 laps. It is that green and white number 4. And next in line is, I believe, going to be the 10 of Garrett Holsey. So the Aussie thundering his way through heat race number 1.
Yeah, having a nice run. He had a great race in the midgets. Now again, he's having a good run here, but he has to gain, I think, at least 1 more position here to make sure he locks himself up and has at least a decent starting spot for the feature if need be. So he's got to find a way to catch up to Halsey and quick. In fact, he's losing a bit of time to Halsey right now on the corner exits because Halsey's just been able to get on the gas better, it seems, after sliding through the corners, but Halsey just made a mistake.
Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Here comes Lewis Hewitt. He's going to have a run. We're going to hop on board with him, see what that looks like as he runs through 3 and 4. There's Holsey. This is Lewis Hewitt, who we're riding on board with. See, he's going to come off the corner. And you know what? Let's be honest. These cars get so sideways, can't hardly see a thing. We're going to have to think about reverting that on board. So sorry about that one. But Lewis works himself to the bottom. Not going to actually move forward. He's still fighting with Alex as they come to the closing stages of heat race number 1.
Yeah, it's going to come close, but I think Hewitt has to get a perfect final lap and a half if he wants a chance to catch up to Halsey and needs 1 mistake. White flag up at the flag stand.
White flag wave. It's a 7/10 of a second advantage for Vinny Sansone over David Heileman. We just saw a little bit of a bobble from Lewis there at the end of turn 1. How is that going to affect him as Alex is just about there? They're going to come off this final corner, though. The number 7 of Vinny Sansone, he is going to win heat race number 1 here on Dirt Night. David Heileman and James Edens and Ryan O'Toole, they round out your top 4. Post-race results. Whoops, that's the wrong button. Post-race results are not on your screen because I was too slow on the draw, but your starting grid for heat race number 2 is. That's going to be Bobby Rafferty on the front row of heat race number 2. Music cued. Chad Robinson in 2nd. David Kolb in 3rd. Austin Selman 4th. Jonathan Presto, Jared Turnbull, Todd Brandt, and Zach McLaughlin. So this is going to be an exciting one, and actually will likely be a much more competitive heat through and through, considering we don't have someone like Lewis who is so, let's say, off in terms of the qualifying pace. I think these guys pretty much hit their ideal lap times in qual trim.
Yeah, they definitely did. All of them in qualifying were within 0.4 of a second. So they just got to make sure, for 1, they have a clean run, and 2, they don't botch up this heat right now, so they have place themselves in the best position possible. Right now, I think one of the drivers you definitely have to watch in this heat is Austin Settleman after coming away with the Midgets win. We've seen him try and use a higher line at the dirt track at Charlotte. Of course, you usually prefer, as you mentioned, the bottom to the middle line here with the non-wing sprint cars. So we'll see if he can use a little bit of the higher line for the middle and try and work that into his advantage. But I think it's going to, again, be patience, and more patience with the drivers right here, especially with the similar times.
Shout outs to me to managing to find some way of breaking our overlay, but I seem to have gotten it fixed, so that's good as these guys roll off for their second of 2 pace laps around Knoxville, sprint car capital of the world. Probably the most famous sprint car race happens here at the Knoxville Nationals. Easily one of the best for those big wing sprint cars. Hundreds of drivers come out to compete. It's basically a week-long event and it happens here. But regardless, USAC 360 cars, they are going to be the ones that we watched and do battle here tonight. It's over heat race number 2, Bobby Rafferty, someone we saw be competitive in the midgets earlier tonight. He's going to lead them off for heat race number 2. He wastes no time. Green flag flies in heat race 2, and immediately Chad Robinson gets in the line. Top 4 more or less single file, but they change that immediately upon entering the corner.
Yeah, everyone going single file for the most part after that. But right now, Austin Settleman's not wanting to give up where he was at right now. Look at the slide job, though, for trying to hold on to 4 from John Lopresto. They're going to go 3 wide, back down to 2, as Settleman has to go for the cross. And he's going to have to try and make this stick on the bottom. He's going to settle in for 4 for at least the time being. So he's already up into a few different battles, but you can tell he's hungry to move up to 3rd to try and get by David Cobb.
Yeah, he's working on David right now. Your top 2 are separated by a few tenths of a second, nowhere near close enough, but you see that number 1 car, Settlement, working the bottom right now on Cobb, trying to make something happen as they run towards 3 and 4, going to be able to slide just down in front. Will David be able to drive it back down to the bottom and get the cut back? He tries, but isn't able to do that. Move that number 1 car up into the 3rd spot.
Yeah, the number 1 car definitely having a good run. Went up the racetrack all the way up to the cushion that time, but couldn't take a mistake. The chance of the mistake there was a little bit of a bunch up in the middle of the pack. Leads to Todd Brandt, almost getting turned around and sliding sideways and bouncing off cars down the front stretch.
So a bit of an issue there. Going to get a replay of that coming up on your screens right here, right now. You watch the number 14 of Todd Brandt. Heading in towards 3 and 4 right here, and you see that little bit of a hiccup with the driver in front. And he just about had it saved, and well, he kind of came off that berm pretty awkwardly, and that was pretty much all she wrote. Driver Zach McLaughlin, he kind of collected there at the end. But regardless, Bobby Rafferty coming to 2 laps to go. He still has a 3/4 of a second lead over the 5 of Chad Robinson.
Yep, it's just about not making mistakes here. He's got a very quick car, and he's been going much faster, in fact, into the apex of the corners while sliding through these corners. He's just got to make sure he keeps it clean to secure the heat number 2 victory. White flag coming up this time by.
It's white flag waves here at Knoxville in heat race number 2. As Bobby Rafferty, it isn't even close between him and Chad Robinson. Settleman to the further 1 second back. Lopresto the further second back. Closest fight is between Turnbull and David Cobb. Can Cobb maybe make the move to get around this 12 car into 3 and 4 for the final time? He's going to look down to the bottom, but he's going to be 2 sideways slides up the racetrack. But out in front, Bobby Rafferty is going to be the winner here in heat race number 2.
Good dominant heat for sure in heat number 2 to come away with it. Just able to pull on away, and that's, of course, going to lead to the consolation where a few of the drivers that are going to have to try and recover, of course, the notable one, Lewis Hewitt. So this is, again, after seeing what you've seen there, I think some drivers are probably going to take some mental notes and now try and adjust and try and match to what they've seen to make sure they get into one of the transfer spots.
So you can see 5 cars are going to be starting here in this one. Lewis Hewitt, Zach McLaughlin, Drew Neal, Todd Brandt, and Alex Krasper, and 4 of them will transfer. So it's one of those situations, Justin, we see it a lot in these official servers, especially on Dirt Night, where it's only 1 or 2 cars that end up getting voted off the island in this race. And we can often see fireworks when this sort of situation happens. I suspect Alex Krasper is going to be very, very aggressive there, starting in that 5th spot on the outside looking in.
Yeah, he was one of those drivers trying to keep up with Lewis Hewitt in the first heat before he got a little bounced around coming towards the front stretch. So he's one of the drivers definitely looking to redeem himself and recover from that first heat trouble on the final lap. So yeah, he's definitely one of those drivers he has to try and get at least 1 pass done, whether it's on Todd Brandt or Drew Neal. It's going to be still challenging, though. Those drivers are not going to want to give this up and want to go on to Gilligan's Island too early. That is for sure.
So they're going to work themselves through. I believe we should be getting the the green flag here this next time through. iRacing safety truck, expect to watch it come down to pit road as it rolls off corner number 4. And the field will be in command of that number 4 car of Lewis Hewitt, who hasn't really had the night he would have liked, was having a very good run and had a win potentially robbed from him when a caution flew in the midgets. And now he's going to have to make a big comeback run here in the feature. I think he's definitely a favorite to potentially transfer as long as he can make it to the end. Pace truck to the safety of pit road, and that 4 car gets on it immediately. He has a nice gap as they roll into 1 and 2 for the first time. Fight is on there for second between Neil and McLaughlin.
Yeah, and Neil's trying to make the bottom side work. Also following him was Krasper, but he had to back off. But Neil does not want to heed the position. You can see Krasper's waiting for the mistake, and it just about came on the high side from McLaughlin. This is going to open up the door for the 4th spot for the time being, as this is intense battling. They know this is the bubble, as now Krasper's might be going for an aggressive slide near the brim.
See people really fanning out here. The 9 car gets around, so the 15 of Zach McLaughlin is now the one on the outside looking in, and the 9 of McLaughlin is the bubble boy. 15 immediately goes back down to the bottom, trying to make anything he can happen to get himself back up there, but that number 9 car seems hooked up and is showing good pace. He's going to now harass the 17 of Drew Neal.
Yeah, he wants to get himself away from that bubble boy. He gets a bit of luck because McLaughlin messed up on the exit of 4, so he's got at least about a cushion for the time being. He's got to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes and goes over aggressive in case he loses that spot. So this is about trying to compose and maybe, of course, trying to get some extra passes to be higher up for the feature. But right now, just about halfway in this one.
Through 1 and 2, they're going to come. A little bit of a mistake coming from Drew Neal. This is going to allow Alex Krasper, to drive his way through. As Krasper is going to get down to the bottom of that 9 car, isn't quite able to hook it up. Had a little bit of an opportunity, but unable to step through. And he's going to remain in that 4th spot as it's 5 down and 5 to go. In the consolation race, the 15 of McLaughlin, who was making some mistakes early, seems to have gotten into his rhythm here, Justin. And I think he's slowly closing on that 9 car.
He's definitely slowly closing, that's for sure. Looking at the intervals, it's starting to go down little by little. It went down just by a whole tenth through turns 1 and 2 that time. So he's just got to find a way to make it stick. He's having better runs on the entrances, just has to find the pace on the exit still. He just has to hope that Neal and Krasper eventually go double file. I think that will end up opening the door for him because that will end up slowing them down a little bit. But right now, McLaughlin, he's got to find a gain that speed. He just lost all the gain he just gained up by 4/10 in 1 single lap.
So Alex, 2 laps remaining. He's going to look to the top side there on Drew Neal, going to drive it back down to the bottom. Look at the big run. He gets down this back straightaway. Might have an opportunity, but no, the straightaway ends a little bit too shortly. White flag waves at the starter stand, and Lewis Hewitt's going to take that right here, right now, and Alex is just trying to get himself off this bubble. Zach McLaughlin, a little bit too far back, and a mistake in turn 1 is going to be, I think, his fate. As they work down the back straightaway, everyone should know that 15 made the mistake now, and shouldn't get too aggressive with one another. Lewis Hewitt is going to win this consolation race. Todd Brandt second, with Neal and Krasper in rounding out your top 4. And Zach McLaughlin is going to be the one who goes home after a very, very hard-fought 10 laps there in that consolation race.
Yeah, you can see he was improving, as you said, in the middle portions of this, but I think it was just a matter of getting a little bit too aggressive for him. He's going to be sent home for at least the time being, but right now, it's time for the best of the best to come down for the 20 laps. They've been watching all of this going on. I think for them, they're going to want to try and put down their best stuff when the green flag comes out.
Definitely, and let's take a look at your starting grid. 16 cars rolling off with Vinny Sansone and Bobby Rafferty making up that front row. Road number 2, David Heilman and Chad Robinson, with James Edens and Austin Semmelman on row 3. Ryan O'Toole, John M. Lepresto on row 4, with Jacob Melvin and Jared Turnbull row 5, Garrett Holvey, David Kolb row 6, Lewis Hewitt and Todd Brandt row 7, with Drew Neal and Alex Krasper making out the 16-car field in the feature event for the USAC 360 sprint cars. Justin, it's been an amazing night of racing. The Midgets put on a good show, and I think we're going to see something similar from these USAC 360 sprint cars. About a lap or so left until it's decided. What's your closing thoughts before we go green?
I think the closing thoughts for me, from what we've seen with the racing, a lot of the main line has been that middle portion, basically down to the bottom. We haven't seen any aggressive slide job moves we see with the wing cars or the late models where they go across that brim yet.
Well, just you wait.
Yeah, I think we're going to definitely see some of those aggressive moves, knowing this is the feature, knowing this is where all the marbles are on and lined up. So expect to see the moves you haven't seen yet. Very aggressive racing, especially for the final 10 laps to try and get the best results possible. So this should be fun to watch for sure, to see how these drivers have been taking notes mentally and potentially physically for this feature.
So Pace Truck gets ready to roll off pit road, and we are going to be green for the feature event of Friday night Dirt Night. Truck pulls down to the inside. Vinny Sansone holds him up. That causes a stack up, and they're already fanning out 3 abreast, but that 7 is clear, and he leads them into 1 and 2 for lap 1 of 20.
But David Heilman is right on his doorstep, though. He ended up getting right near him and is, in fact, riding alongside the brim. He's having a great start, able to get away. The top 2 able to pull on away. Double file for the most part, then on back. But a good start for him. He was in that P3 spot to be able to position himself up there, as now it's a 3-car tandem. Look at that, Chad Robinson.
Chad Robinson's looking to make move out in front. The 7 of Vinny Sansone is still there, but the 3 and the 5, they're going to be doing battle as they head indoors corner number 1 and 2 for the 3rd time. 5 Machine gets it down to the bottom on David, and he wants to make this move stick. Will he have an opportunity as the track's slicking up enough? See the 5 car way down to the bottom, using the berm to help him rotate that car. That's one thing you can do in these non-winged machines. Without all that arrow, they move around a lot, and now David Heilman's throwing moves at your race leader. The 7 of Vinny Sansone needs to be looking out because Heilman is checking in.
He's definitely checking in, and you can tell he wants to try and make a move. You can see he has, from what you're seeing for the way he's getting lines, he's about matching these lines and trying to keep up. But when you look at the speeds of these 2 right now, he's been running a bit faster on the exits by far, able to get on the gas a bit quicker while maintaining the handling of it. But now he's got to worry with Robinson back on his heels and Bob Rafferty as well on the heels of both of them.
Riding on board with the 3rd place runner of Chad Robinson, you see the 3 Machine of Heilman and the 7 of Vinny Sansone just out in front. This is a really good camera angle. See how these guys are working the car. You can see the front tires of both the car. We're watching in the car out in front. It's a little bit of a mistake from Vinny. That's going to bring in Heilman just a little bit. David looks down low, throws a big slider, and it's going to stick, but Vinny's going to get a bunch of momentum. He makes a mistake, and no, Robinson gets sent around. That might bring out the first caution of the night. And the 5 car, no, he's down on the apron. We're going to stay green. He goes from fighting for the lead to running last.
Absolutely worst time possible for that to happen. Bad luck for Robinson. And in the end, as you said, Heilman able to take advantage. Just wrong place at the wrong time for him. It's going to take him a long while to even try and move up a spot because he's about a half track back from the leaders after that one.
So we're just getting another look at this. Last week's winner, Chad Robinson, unfortunate. Another driver's mistake really cost him there. You see, he just ends up facing the wrong way, and that's pretty much the end of that thing for him. The 3 of David Heilman, though, he still leads with a nice little margin of about 0.4 of a second over Vinny Sansone. Vinny is now having to fight with the 16 of Bobby Rafferty. And this is the 2nd week in a row we've seen this, Justin, where the 7 car is so quick. He was quickest in qualifying last week as well, but in race trim, he just didn't seem to have the pace. So I think Vinny not quite happy with the setup of that car, as Bobby looking to the top side, looking to the bottom side, but he can't find a way around Vinny just yet.
Yeah, right now you see everyone riding alongside that cushion, and I think he went high enough to try and open up the door for Rafferty. Here it is right here. He's going to go for the slide job here and now. Can he make this stick? Yes, he can. No, he cannot, in fact, because Sansone ended up working his way and manhandling his way back up there but you can tell Rafferty wanted that spot aggressively, made it work with a slide job to 3 and 4 to set it up for 1 and 2. Now he's in second and approaching Heilman for that lead.
And now they have Austin Selman to have to deal with, but Rafferty is the one that we're really going to have to watch. Given the speed that he has already reeled in David Heilman, and that was a big margin. He looked to the bottom already as they work themselves down the back straightaway. So that number 16 car has found something, and he is absolutely flying on the racetrack right now through corners number 3 and 4. He's going to try to put that big fat right rear tire in that nice tacky dirt and get a big run. Gets a decent one as they head towards 1 and 2. He's going to look to the bottom. Very early exit there from Rafferty, and he drives right around the 3 of Heilman, who makes a mistake up top. New leader, 16 of Bobby Rafferty.
Yeah, went up way too aggressive trying to ride along the cushion, and that happens a lot here, especially in that area. Now he's going to have to try and recover for that because there's about 5 laps to go next time by. So he knows he made the mistake there. It's about trying to recover with that, trying to make sure he doesn't go up that high again, and I think he almost ran to the back of him. In fact, with the run he got, he has to back off.
Very aggressive for these guys. They go to the top side in 1 and 2. That middle groove, you can see how it's slickened up. The pace isn't quite there. David Heilman, he's going to be a part of this. Austin Selman in the background. We saw him struggling a little bit as Heilman. He almost sends himself around. How are they going to be able to angle this off? And as he maybe just given this win to Bobby Rafferty, 4 laps remaining here at start finish as they work themselves through corners number 1 and 2, and that little mistake has costed Heilman a lot. Meanwhile, the fight is still on for 3rd, 4th, and 5th as caution's going to fly, and I think that's going to end at Lewis Hewitt, the car involved.
Yeah, he had been struggling a little bit in the back at times, and now that is not the best spot. It's going to, of course, bring out the caution, so we got to definitely check out the replay with this because I think it was in 1 and 2 where he flipped up and over.
I think this is just an individual mistake. He wasn't racing with anyone. I think Lewis, maybe knowing that these races are getting broadcasted, maybe hasn't done enough practice in these cars yet because he really has his hands full out there, and as you can see, just watching him sawing at the wheel, and he went to the top, and, well, that set him up and over. So maybe either struggling with the car, the track, or both. We're actually going to just hop on board a little bit further, see if maybe he had a little bit of damage, see these last couple laps if there's a bit of contact. Actually, that's James Edens, who I just jumped on board with. Here you go, Hughes Lewis. See if maybe he got the wall right there. That may have done a bit of damage to the car, but regardless, Lewis well off the pace in qualifying. Didn't quite have it, but I think a driver is going to be very happy with that. Even though it's going to end under yellow, will be Bobby Rafferty, because that is going to solidify him with a race win tonight.
Yeah, Rafferty ended up taking advantage of the mistake from David Heilman from going way too high on the track for out of 2, and in the end was just able to pull it on away. Of course, Heilman tried to work that wheel for sure to try and get back up to him, but for Rafferty, he had the pace he needed to have to come away and pull away up at the front before that caution. So, a much-deserved win in terms of speed for him, that's for sure, for Bobby Rafferty.
So they worked themselves down the back straightaway. They went caution-free last week at Volusia, and they very nearly did so tonight here at Knoxville. Of course, that incident with Chad Robinson, you could argue that should have been a yellow, so maybe not quite as honorary as last week, but regardless, that number 16 car, he doesn't care about the honor. He just cares about the checkers as he's going to come off corner number 4. And Bobby Rafferty is going to win in the USAC 360 Sprint Cars here at Knoxville, week number 3. Very good run for him tonight, Justin, especially some of the drama we saw on the midgets and the pace he showed after getting that second spot to reel in Heilman really within about a lap.
Yeah, that definitely. It took a lot of skill to reel him on in, and then time up the slide job move down on that.
Wow, fantastic donuts. Amazing donuts.
Very amazing donuts, I guess you can say. Hey, but yeah, it takes the skill to get down, do the slide job in the berm, and make sure you don't lose control, and then try and make it stick, which that move to 3 and 4, of course, ended up setting up that move in 1 and 2 to be able to do the same thing. So it took a lot of skill to be able to take advantage of one mistake, take advantage of that for the pass, and then run off to the races with that, with the speed he had tonight.
So just getting another look at that right here, right now, of his failure at doing donuts. We need to get another look at that, don't we? That is quite humorous. And this is actually a little bit too far back, so we'll just watch him go all the way around. But that was quite funny. We'll be stood by with Austin Selman in a moment as he's joined the channel. But you can see right here this epic fail on the donuts. Doesn't quite have the ability that Alex Bergeron showed last night in the American Dirt Series 360 winged sprint car finale. But regardless, we're going to stood by for interviews in a moment. And who do you want to start it out with, Justin, Austin, or David?
Well, I think right now, why don't we talk to the guy who led for a majority of the race and then ended up finishing second, of course, David.
Lines.
He is now joining us in the booth. I believe he was talking to Austin Settlement about strategy involving lines. Talk us through what you were trying to do with the different lines at that point of the race.
Sort them. No, just kidding. I was just telling him that once I got out front, I didn't know what the heck to do. I started adventuring around the racetrack because the outside was getting kind of rough. And in hindsight, looking back at it, I should have just stayed up there. And I don't know, kind of felt like I choked this one away.
Yeah, from my angle, it really started with going slightly too high out of turn 2, and then that, of course, set up the slide job with that. But, of course, you had a very competitive car for much of the day, or much of the night, I should say. What kind of adjustments did you make as the night went on to try and improve more and more after having one of the best qualifying times, having some decent runs in your heat, finishing second, of course, to Sanzone, and then being able to get by Sanzone and moving your way up to leading the majority of the laps before the final few ones?
Yeah, with this track, it's just all about waiting until it gets pretty slick. So in the heat, I figured I'd just run behind Sanzone. Only change I made was one click in the right rear and the difference of fuel between qualifying and race all night. But I did everything I wanted to. Went out there, got the league, and then I just, Knoxville is by far the best surface in the game right now, track surface wise, and makes for good racing. And congrats to Bobby. And yeah.
I will ask you one more question. Is there anyone you want to give shout-outs to before we let you go, or anything you want to say that we didn't ask about?
No. Go Jayhawks. Gonna go watch the end of that game in the Final Four. Thanks, Team VLR. Best team out there on dirt. Thanks, Racespot, for putting it on Saturday night again. Oh.
Thank you for... Pardon me if I cut you off. What was that last thing you wanted to say?
So that's it. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Apologies for cutting off your thank you. Thank you very much, David, for congratulations on the second. And Bobby Rafferty is now joining us in the broadcast booth. He's going to be with Randy Chenowth as he came away with the victory with a lot of skill. That's for sure, Randy.
That he definitely did. That number 16 car was hooked up and flying, and the way he reeled in David was impressive when he got the race lead. But first things first, Bobby, how in the hell are you that quick and you've not yet figured out how to do donuts? You put that car on its lid super quick. You got the color scheme, you got the skulls. Look more like a Gravedigger freestyle routine more than a celebratory ritual.
To be honest with you, that to me right there is redemption after, myself making a lot of mistakes at Volusia last week and costing myself what could have been a good run, I feel. And then the midget race just not going my way, all racing deals, but got me pretty worked up. And when I won that race especially against guys like Vinny and Chad, Austin, David, all these guys that are, top tier drivers, some of the cleanest drivers out there, that's huge for me. So I was really, really excited, and I just put it to the wood and let it go, see what happens.
Your race car is made out of wood?
It could be. I'm not sure what it looked like out there. I think it had a pretty good suspension on it, though.
It definitely did. It definitely did. It was a very, very quick number 16 car. And I'm just going to ask you one question for science. Posted something on the forums last week and something I was thinking about doing. And I think after this race, I might have to put it in the action and put it into action. How do the 410s run? Are they similar to the 360s, or are people not able to control them as much?
Believe it or not, I actually think, and this is, again, just my personal opinion, everybody's going to have their own, the way the saying is, but for me personally, I think the 410 is actually more forgiving because you do have that extra power to pull you out of slight and minor mistakes. With the 360, it's more of a momentum car. If you lose your momentum, especially with how quick, you know, this field is running, you'll drop 4 to 5 spots very, very easily. So, you know, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. But for me personally, like I said, I feel that you have to be a lot smoother in the 360 than you do the 410. The 410, you can manhandle a little bit more.
Well, Bobby, congratulations on this win. That 16 car was fast. You're definitely the class of the field. There is one more thing I'm curious of. The 7 of Vinny Sansone, last 2 weeks, been very quick in qualifying, but he seems to struggle in the race trim. He led early, but, you know, David reeled it in pretty quick. What do you think it is that someone like Vinny, as quick as he is, might be missing in the setup that's really making him struggle in the race?
Honestly, it's very hard to say on that. I think it looked like Vinny was running, from what I could see from where I was with my horrible initial start, it looked like he was running a little bit too low on the track. And it looked like he was definitely a little bit loose. Maybe, you know, if it was me, maybe click a stagger out of it or a bar adjustment. But, I mean, Vinny's one of the best and when it comes to the asphalt sprints, and he's taken to the dirt stuff very, very quickly. So I'm sure he's going to figure it out, and he's going to be somebody to be contended with before the end of the season.
Well, Bobby, time to let you go after the big win. Shout-outs. Who do you have to thank for your performance tonight?
I got to thank all the guys on Untamed Motorsports, Bobby Sant Jr., Gerald John, David Bodio, who's another one of my teammates that, you know, we all work on this setup together. We all run a ton of laps, and without these guys, you know, it's a team effort. But without them, there would be no wins. There would not be such fast cars. So I got to thank them, you know, a million times over.
Well, Bobby Rafferty, everybody, your big winner here in the USAC 360 Sprint Cars here on Friday Dirt Night, the second Saturday edition. Once again, we will be back to Fridays next week as the American Dirt Series 360 Wing Sprint Car Series had their finale last night and thus frees that night back up. But, Bobby, thanks again for joining us, and thanks again for the big win here at Knoxville. Well done.
Thank you, guys. And by the way, thank you guys with Racespot TV for doing everything you guys are doing for us with the 360 cars and the wingless cars and bringing some exposure to it and hopefully helping us build the series. We all appreciate it very much.
Hey, these wingless cars are putting on good shows, and I'll just say iRacing Sprint Week may be coming soon. So moving on down the interview line, next in line, well, Justin, you're going to be stood by with Austin Semmelman.
Yes, indeed we are right now. He quietly moved himself up to third spot if there's a way to quietly finish up onto the podium. Austin, how, in your opinion, did your car feel as the night went on?
To be honest with you, Justin, it felt really bad. That was probably the worst car I've ever finished in the top 3 with, like ever. We missed it pretty bad tonight in there. It was, wow. I almost wrecked about 2 or 3 times myself there, so I'm thrilled to run third with it, honestly. So between that and my internet issues, I'll definitely take it.
Okay, I'm going to definitely have to ask this. What was wrong with the car for it to be in that situation where it almost wrecked a couple times?
Just the top side was just rough as can be. I'd go up there and it would either push to the wall or almost spin out. So something. I think I was a little too, maybe the ride height. I don't know. Something was wrong there because it was not easy to drive for sure. And the speed was up there, but you had to have a car that would drive through it good, and mine definitely didn't want to.
And when you realized all of that, how were you able to essentially try and compose yourself back up with that to try and get back up to where you need to be to finish for the third spot? Because that's definitely got to be something very challenging to make sure you don't end up hooking the car around.
Oh, for sure. You know, I didn't think I had a car that could win the race. I just was trying to do the best I could to get a decent finish. A couple of them guys had trouble in front of me. Got caught up in accident or a spin, and I think Vinny got in the wall a bit there. But I kind of just tried to survive. I started running lower, going in the corner, and kind of drifting up slowly into the cushion, if you will, or the top. So just to try to minimize the time spent up there, but still be pretty quick. So I tried my best, but the car just definitely was not there tonight, but managed to get a good finish out of it.
Okay, and as well, one question before we get to the final question, of course, I do want to ask this as well. Now, in your opinion, what is the biggest difference between the USAC sprint cars with the no wings and having a sprint car with the wings, in your opinion? And which one do you prefer, in your honest opinion?
Well, the biggest difference obviously is downforce. You can tell the wing car. It kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It kind of just plants itself on the track a lot harder on all four wheels. So, and I'm not saying it's easy. They're not easy, of course, but they're a lot more stable, if you will, throughout the corner, and more predictable. The non-wing car, you're kind of along for the ride a lot of the time. So I prefer right now driving the non-wing car. I think it's more fun. It's a bigger challenge for me, but I enjoy them both, pretty much anything. But right now, probably the non-wing car.
And let me ask this as well, because I believe your team is wondering about this. About the mirror, how much were you looking into your mirror, if that makes sense of a question, to try and see where the drivers were at, see where everything is? I think that makes sense with the question.
My team is probably messing with me because I don't run a mirror, so they're probably just giving you a hard time, and it's kind of a running joke. So, yep, we had to go to that. It seems like every interview goes to that, so I'm sure they'll enjoy that. And shout out to them.
Yep, they definitely enjoy that. Of course, is there anyone you want to shout out, including your team, Team VLR?
Well, first off, I was actually really upset with myself after the midget race, because first off, our thoughts are with Eric Huff, his family. He actually lost his sister this past week, so of course he's on VLR, he's an admin, so we're definitely thinking about him and his family. I really wanted to get in here and mention that after that midget race, because I was going to, but it just didn't there. So and of course Team VLR, Dirt Division, Dirt Collective, everybody that makes this fun and put so much into it.
Thank you very much for the time, Austin, and thank you very much for the kind words. You have a good night. Congratulations on the top 3.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
And that was definitely an excited driver for sure to finish off in the top 3, but as he said, needed a little bit of luck to get there with the way it was handling, apparently. So we'll see how he does with next week. That's for sure for Dirt Night.
Yeah, Austin, he had a very, very good night tonight to win in the midgets and get a big 3rd place here in the non-winged cars. I know a lot of these guys there, I don't want to say they've not driven the cars or are new to the cars, but there's, to my knowledge, not a lot of leagues, not a lot of major leagues really running these things, and really it's just this stuff that I think these guys are gonna be doing with them, and they're putting on a good show. And I put something in the USAC forums last week, said that I'd make for sure that if these guys kept doing what they're doing, that I would ensure that a special event happens for these guys, and we get more stuff on Racespot TV. Something's in the works for summer already. You guys, 2 weeks in a row. As long as you guys don't, the term I was about to use would have gotten me fired. As long as you guys don't ruin things, I'll just put it this way. Things will be still being put in motion. So look for summer. These non-winged USAC cars will have a nice little event for themselves later on down the line. It'll likely be the 410 cars as opposed to the 360 because that's what they use in real life. But these non-wing cars, Justin, they're putting on one hell of a show every week.
That is for sure. Like, this has been one of the more entertaining races I think I've called in the past couple of weeks, to be honest, with the non-wing sprint cars right now. So they definitely put on a good show. They do, of course, have their handling differences between non-wing and wings, which makes it interesting as well to see how drivers adjust their setups and that. I think this should be a series that definitely grows with the USACs, with the sprint cars, with the non-wing sprint cars, that's for sure, from here on out. It should be a community that grows, and I hope it ends up being a community that grows, that's for sure, after seeing the racing tonight.
That it definitely is. Thank you, though, everybody. As well, I'm going to have to start dealing with people asking me about what this special event is. I expect the VL Arcade chat to erupt, as well as the ADS Facebook group. But my oh my, that's going to be fun. Shout outs to everyone who makes Dirt Night possible. Justin Prince joining me for the USAC races, both the midgets and the sprint cars, and of course to Johnny Simone, who joins me for the Red Bull Global Rallycross. Unfortunately, things are a little bit rough, but like I said, we'll have that feature event uploaded here in just a couple of moments. Thank you guys once again for tuning in for the Dirt Night broadcast, and we will see you in 6 days' time, because we are going back to Friday Dirt Night here in just in less than 1 week, as our Fridays are officially freed back up. But from everyone here on Racespot TV and iRacing Live, and from myself here at Randy Chenowth, thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you next time. Ciao.